The 8 and 16-bit generations were all about the side-scrollers. There was so much you could do with it. You could do RPGs, you could do sports titles, you could do shooters, you could do action games, you could do pure platformers. It was so diverse in what developers could make of it. Of course, we all had our favorites and we all had ones that we would rather forget, but it was a magical time for gaming, and there's a lot of games coming out these days that harken back to those times. Now, of course, the games I'm going to show today aren't the 7th best or the 7 worst. These are just 7 games that I don't see anyone in my community talking about one way or another, so I thought I would give them the spotlight, especially since they are very heavily inspired by previous games of the 8 and 16-bit generation, games that you still love, and it's clear that the developers love them just as much as you do. So today we're looking at 7 side-scrolling action platformers on the PlayStation Network. So we're starting off with number 7, which is of course Flinthook. This one got a little bit of press as it had a physical version, I believe, available on the Switch. This is an older title, but I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about it, and didn't see a tremendous amount of people talking about it when it was new. It borrows mechanics from a number of different games, one of which is dear to my heart, which is Bionic Commando, as you have this hook that allows you to swing across different platforms through the environment. It's not the same type of game as Bionic Commando, of course, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of treasure hunting, different bosses to fight, multiple levels, you can level up your guy. It's a lot of fun. I really recommend it. Moving on to number 6, we have a little game called Halloween Forever. Now, the graphics on this one are decidedly more on the 8-bit side of things. In fact, it might look more like an Atari 800 game than something you'd see on NES necessarily. This one reminds me a lot of some of the more horror-related platformers like Ghosts and Goblins or Monster Party. It's a fun little game, it's got a sick sense of humor, and it does have a good deal of challenge to it. Some of the later levels of the game get quite difficult. You will need to use your platforming skills. Coming in at number 5, you have Ona Cannon. And Ona Cannon wears its influences heavily on its sleeve, and I mean all of them. This game borrows from Ninja Gaiden, it borrows from Strider, and it definitely borrows from Shinobi 3. You've got the cutscenes of Ninja Gaiden. You've got the side-scrolling and attacks of Ninja Gaiden mixed with Strider's navigation of the levels. You've got side-scrolling vehicle missions like in Shinobi 3. It's got Ninja Gaiden-style boss fights mixed with a little bit of Strider's boss fights. It's got 8-bit influenced music. The graphics are somewhere between 8-bit and 16-bit. It's just everything you could possibly hope for from this kind of game. If you loved Ninja Gaiden, if you loved Strider, if you loved Shadow of the Ninja, those kind of games, this is definitely up your alley, and I don't see anyone talking about this game in the community right now, and it's only been out on PSN and probably Xbox One as well. I haven't looked for a couple months tops. This is a good game, folks. You need to be checking out this title. It's well worth the money. Coming in at number 4, we have Gun Crazy. This is another recent addition to the PlayStation Network, and this one is another title from Ratalaika, and much like other Ratalaika games, this one's an easy platinum, folks, because it doesn't actually require you to beat the whole game to get the platinum. But you're going to want to beat the whole game because it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit of Gunstar Heroes mixed in with the Gunstar Heroes like single-player games from Japan, Gunner's Heaven, mixed with a little bit of the Mega Man X series, but all kind of mixed down to a more simplified experience. It's a lot of fun. You will want to play it all the way to the end, even after getting the platinum. You should check it out. Coming in at number 3 is Whipsey and the Lost Atlas. Now, obviously, this is a 16-bit Super NES inspired title graphically. The music doesn't really sound like anything from that era, but you can definitely tell from the graphics that that's what they were going for. Of course, the character looks like Kirby, but it doesn't really play anything like Kirby. It's more of a straightforward platformer that has both side-scrolling levels and rooms that are more just puzzle rooms where you have to kind of figure out how to get out of the room in the safest way possible. Later on, the mechanics of it alter a little bit or become more challenging. Of course, Whipsey here is using a whip that you can either attack enemies with, you can also jump up and down on their heads to kill them, but you can also use the whip to navigate the areas. There are certain points in the game where you'll see little pink hoops, and if you time it right, you can grab that hoop with your whip and swing across Castlevania style. So this one is one to look for if you're into those type of platformers. I know it looks kind of cutesy, and what you're seeing right now looks pretty simplistic. The challenge gets more and more intense as the game goes on. It's still not the hardest game, but later on you do have a fair bit of challenge to it. So if you're into this kind of thing, you might want to give it a look. Coming in at number 2 is The Messenger. This is my personal favorite of all the games that I've shown on this list, and I've been wanting to talk about it for such a long time. Now, I know I said that in the beginning of the video, these games were games that no one was talking about. There was a lot of chatter about this game prior to its release. A lot of people that I follow on Twitter were talking about how excited they were for it, and then it actually came out, and all that talk just kind of died, and no one was really talking about it anymore. And it kind of made me wonder if people wanted it more because they were excited about the limited run physical edition, so it was more from a collector standpoint than actually playing it. I don't know. All I know is that once it actually came out, everyone just kind of stopped talking about it, and I don't know if maybe it's because they expected it to just be the next Ninja Gaiden, and it's not really. I mean, obviously when you look at the graphics, there's a definite Ninja Gaiden influence. Some of the controls are similar to Ninja Gaiden in some ways, and the music is kind of a mix of classic Ninja Gaiden with Mega Man. It's the best retro soundtrack I've heard in a long time. I love the soundtrack to this game, but I don't really feel that it plays that much like Ninja Gaiden. In fact, I almost included it on my Metroidvania video because there's so much potential backtracking. You have multiple versions of worlds that you can go back to. You can come back and unlock areas that you couldn't get to before. So in a lot of ways, there's some Metroidvania style stuff going on here. Although some of the battles, as far as the boss battles go, really do remind me of Ninja Gaiden. And of course, in some of the animation, it's kind of obvious, especially as running animation. But there's a little bit of Shadow of the Ninja in there as well. Regardless, this is my favorite game on this list. I haven't beaten it yet, but I've really been wanting to get back to it. I've just been so busy. It's an addictive title. You'll go into it thinking, well, I'll just get to the next area, and then the next thing you know, you've been playing it for 2 hours. It's that kind of game. If you haven't picked it up yet, as long as it's been out, you really need to pick it up. I strongly recommend it. I do feel, again, it is by far the best game in this video, and you should be playing it right now. So go get it. Finally, coming in at number 1 is Gunlord X, and I think it's pretty obvious straight from the get-go what inspired this particular title, because it eats, sleeps, and breathes Turrican. This is Turrican all day long, with a little bit of Contra 3 The Alien Wars thrown in when you get a look at the boss fights. This game is a lot of fun, but it is challenging. It can be unforgiving. You have a limited number of tries and a limited number of continues, and if you don't make it, you're done. It is as old school as it gets. It's really great. The music is fantastic. The graphics are fantastic, as you can see. It's got huge, big, well-animated boss fights. It's definitely 16-bit inspired. You've got all sorts of weapon options. The music is great. It's got a great CRT effect look. You should just pick this one up. It's fantastic. So, how'd you like my list? Drop me a comment and let me know. Hit that like button. better yet, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and do so and hit the little bell so you're notified about all my new videos. I also stream on Twitch every Saturday night. That's starting this coming Saturday. I hope to see you there. Until then, this is 7th.